We're just going to get very quickly mention this because, like all school children around the world, MPs did get an extended holiday over the summer, 8 weeks or so, and well, they're back on Monday. So that's good news, isn't it? Yes, that's what I thought too.
At best I don't say anything on this issue.
Yeah, okay. So let's get down to business here. And we're going to kick off with Mr. Looney Tunes himself, Ben Wallace, who has left his job as Defence Secretary. Now, you may be wondering why I've chosen to produce this particular graphic, and that is because on his Twitter feed today, he signed off by saying, "That's all, folks. Been a privilege to serve this great nation." So I thought that was a particularly appropriate graphic to put up.
Appropriate graphic, very demeaning by him, because basically he's had an official role serving the public and he treats them as though it's all part of a cartoon.
Yes, so
which just reflects on him, because I don't think that man is particularly bright.
So in his resignation letter, he said that the Ministry of Defence was a more modern, better funded and more confident than the organisation he took over in 2019. I know you'll agree, he said to the Prime Minister, that we must not return to the days where defence was viewed as a discretionary spend by government and savings were achieved by hollowing out. So who has he been replaced by? Well, it is the wonderful Right Honourable Grant Shapps MP. So there he is. Now, Sir Richard Dannett in the Telegraph today was saying that Grant Shapps knows nothing about defence. Sir Richard Dannett was former Chief of the Defence Staff. And of course that's true, because if we look at his history, he's been Secretary of State for Energy Security and Net Zero, Secretary of State for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy. He's been Home Secretary. He's been Secretary of State for Transport. He's been Secretary of State for International Development. He's been Chairman of the Conservative Party. He's been Minister without Portfolio. And he's been Minister of State for Housing and Local Government. And so I think we could probably say that he doesn't know anything about anything in particular. Or is that unfair?
No, it's not unfair at all. Is he going to be serving this country? My question is he going to be serving this country, or is he going to be serving Israel? But
well, that is a good question, because he's the first Jewish Defence Secretary since Sir Malcolm Rifkin, and who, of course, was Defence Secretary under Thatcher and Major. But anyway, not wanting to get behind the situation at all, behind the curve, he's already been sucking up to Zelensky with a visit to Kiev last week. So let's just have a look at the wonderful video that he produced following that visit.
Let me tell you about what I saw in Ukraine today. I saw amazing leaders powering on through attacks, and was proud the UK is helping them kick Russia out of their energy system. I saw captured Russian tanks in the heart of Kyiv on the eve of Independence Day, showing how hard Ukraine has fought, and all the remembrance showing just how much they've lost. I saw those working tirelessly to keep the lights on and the country running even under constant barrage. I heard the air raid sirens in the city, and I saw the damage done, but also the repairs underway with anti-missile defences being installed. But I also witnessed the people, the families, standing strong through it all, fighting, rebuilding, living their lives in spite of it all. The UK stood with them from the very beginning and always will. Slava Ukraini.
So I'll apologize to anybody eating their lunch. You may have lost it there, but just so that everybody understands that behind the music and the positivity that he's trying to present here, in fact, was another loan, £192 million in this case, to Ukraine, Brian. So another loan, and as Zelensky said, there's not going to be any free gifts with these loans. They're all going to be paid back at some point.
Well, I think there are going to be some free gifts, Mike, and I think that's going to be more Ukrainian dead. But personally, I found that video really offensive, because it's another, I'll call it, cartoon video for the public. And what's actually happening? Well, Ukraine is being led into longer period of war and more deaths. Let's just come over onto the BBC that was reporting deaths. This was a few days ago. There was quite a lot of comment in various places about this. A photograph, of course, which the BBC can't ignore, because across Ukraine, more and more cemeteries are covered with these very bright flags. But obviously, they represent the sad deaths of mainly Ukrainian men, dying by the dozens every day. Ukraine losses climb. And what are we actually talking about? Well, if we have a little look at the, let's come on, Tyrone, and have a look at what the BBC's got to say. Ukraine gives no official toll of its war dead. The Ukrainian armed forces have reiterated that their war casualties are a state secret, but Margot knows the losses are huge. So there's some truth in this statement, because the Ukrainians do keep these losses a secret, and they keep the losses secret because they are huge, and they don't release the true figures to the Ukrainian public. And then we get into the dirty stuff. The figures remain classified, but US officials, quoted by the New York Times in bold and underlined as if this is truth, recently put the number at 70,000 dead and as many as 120,000 injured. It's a staggering figure from armed forces estimated at only 500,000 strong. Well, of course, Ukraine's operated 3 armies. It's on the 3rd army at the moment, and the death statistics and the casualties go on. But the BBC has been active from the start of this war in helping suppress the Ukrainian casualties to keep the proxy war going. Now, I did some calculations on this very quickly, just to give an idea of what we're talking about. But if the BBC 70,000 dead claim is correct, over 556 days of war, you're talking about 125 dead per day. This is a vast war front. Very heavy fighting has been happening across many areas of the front, particularly over the Ukrainian offensive. But if you look at reporting, deaths per day have run into multiple hundreds or even thousands when the fighting was particularly intensive around Bakhmut, for example, but on many other areas of the front. The Russians claim that Ukraine has lost 25,000 killed in its offensive in the offensive to date alone. And while Ukraine hides its losses, the Russian estimates of Ukrainian dead have largely been reliable over the course of the war.
Sorry, just to clarify, that 25,000 figure, that's since the beginning of the counteroffensive?
The counteroffensive, as Ukraine likes to call it. But I'm going to put this one up because this circulated a few days ago, that a mobile phone provider put out a little video which was really recognizing the suffering and the deaths. And the figure mentioned was 400,000. This little video then disappeared. But if we do the calculation for 556 days, that equates to 719 dead per day. So we can quickly see that it's very, very likely that the casualties are significantly higher than the BBC would have us believe. Why does the BBC want to suppress the death statistics? They have to do that to keep morale in Ukraine up and prolong the conflict. So I'll let our viewers reflect on that. And if we get more information, we'll update those calculations.
Well, let's welcome Vanessa to the programme. And